My name is Sandra O'Connor, and I'd like to welcome you to the Greensboro Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Please note that this meeting is being conducted in person and online. If anyone participating online needs help with Zoom during the meeting, please email Luke Carter at lucas.carter, Lucas.Carter, Carter, at greensboro-nc.gov. Members of the Commission are appointed by the City Council and serve without pay. The Commission reviews all original zoning and rezoning requests for the City of Greensboro. Each Commissioner normally visits each site prior to this meeting. The procedure used at all public hearings is as follows. Planning staff presents background information and makes a recommendation. The applicant will present a short summary on how he or she communicated with the neighborhood and why the request is reasonable. Other persons in favor of the request speak for a total of 10 minutes shared with the applicant. Speakers opposed to the request share another 10 minutes of speaking time. Those in favor of the request will share 5 minutes of rebuttal time. Those in opposition to the request will share 5 minutes of rebuttal time. Any Commission member may ask questions once a presenter has completed their presentation. All Commissioners are required to vote unless they have a conflict of interest. In an effort to run meetings more efficiently, the Planning and Zoning Commission may reorganize the meeting agenda. Cases in which no opposition has been expressed to the Planning Department and in which Commission members do not feel necessitate in-depth discussion will be moved to the top of the agenda. Staff will provide a shortened presentation for these expedited cases, and applicants have up to 2 minutes to address the Commission if they desire to provide any additional information they want the Commission to know. Expedited cases will then follow the procedures outlined previously. All denied cases and all approved ordinances receiving 6 or more favorable votes will constitute final action unless an appeal is submitted in writing to the Planning Department and the appeal fee is paid within 10 days. All ordinances receiving a majority of favorable votes but less than 6 will be subject to a public hearing by the City Council. When the case is called that you're interested in, people wishing to speak online will need to use the raise hand function, and you will be called upon to speak in the order in which hands were raised. Please find the raise hand function under the reaction button. People wishing to speak in person will need to come to the podium. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and address for the record. Please also direct all comments and questions to the Zoning Commission. Participants in the Zoom meeting will be able to view the meeting and speak when they are called upon. This meeting is being recorded and televised on Greensboro Television Network. In addition, the telecast is being closed captioned for the hearing impaired. At this point, I'd like the Commissioners present to please introduce themselves, starting on my far right.
Andrew Egbert.
Catherine Magid.
Zach Engel.
Mary Skeens.
Erica Glass.
Paul J. Gilmer, Sr.
And we will acknowledge the absence of Mr. Peterson and understand that Mr. Downing may be coming a few minutes late. He's delayed. Would like to have some comments from our City Attorney.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor, and good evening, everyone. Much of the Planning and Zoning Commission's work this evening will relate to the consideration of rezoning applications. I'd like to remind everyone in attendance that when the Commission considers rezoning applications, its determinations are based on the land uses that are allowed under the zoning district put forth in the application and any conditions that have been proposed by the applicant. Land use impacts on public infrastructure are relevant in rezoning matters, and it's important to know that the Commission is not here to determine all details of a development. This involves staff input and evaluation that goes beyond the scope of the Commission's work. If a rezoning would generate a certain amount of traffic flow, the Commissioners will have been provided with a summary traffic impact study. Meanwhile, many site-specific development features, such as the management of stormwater, are evaluated through the Technical Review Committee rather than in this forum. Lastly, concerns that are not related to land use are not germane to the Commission's consideration of rezoning applications. For example, generalized concerns about crime rates, current or anticipated school capacity, and questions of who may own or live at a subject property are not for the Commission's consideration. If there are questions about matters not addressed this evening, those may be referred to the Planning Department or the Technical Review Committee as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. The first item, we've already acknowledged our absences, and the next item would be approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to delay approval of the minutes?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to delay approval of the minutes from the May 20th, 2024 meeting, as there were some last-minute changes to comments. It doesn't change any of the votes within the minutes, but simply commentary. So we wanted to have time to review that before the next meeting. Any comments or questions about that? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, then the minutes will be approved at the next meeting. We'll delay that. What about withdrawals and continuances?
Thank you, Chair Connor. Yes, we have 3 withdrawal or continuance requests tonight. The first of which is case Z-24-06-003, which is for 1322 Bothwell Street. The applicant has requested the continuance to amend their Unified Development Plan and to continue their outreach with the neighborhood.
Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve. Grant the continuance. Andrew Egbert.
Catherine Magid, second.
So we have a motion from Mr. Egbert and a second from Ms. Magid to continue Z-24-06003. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Do we need a date for the continuance on that, Mr. Carter?
The request was just, actually was to the August meeting, so it would be a 60-day continuance.
Okay. I would like to note, we've received communication on some of these items that are being continued or deferred tonight. So any member of the public or anyone else that might have communicated with us or sent us emails, once these are continued, sometimes things are changed. And so when they're changed, what we have before us tonight may be different than what we see in August or whatever date they're continued to. I'm making that note so that the public will be aware that you may want to resend your comments if you've already sent emails to us about this, or if you have further comments after you find out what the new matter, how it's formulated is. So the new comments, there will be a new announcement about the new notice about the item, and at that time you should forward again either the comments you already wrote or any new comments you have, just so that we are all up to par with where you want to make your comments to us. The next continuance?
I'd also like to add that staff will resend notices and repost the sign that's on the property. So notifications will go back out on that, and it won't be a surprise to anyone that it's being heard again. And just for the record, the meeting date in August would be August 19th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have another continuance?
Yes. The second item that's been requested for continuance is item Z-24-06-004, which is for 2313 Stanley Road. The applicant has requested a continuance to July, and that would be the July 15th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and they have requested their continuance for additional neighborhood outreach.
So I'll make a motion that we continue that to the July 15th meeting.
Second, Catherine Magid.
Thank you, Mr. Engel and Ms. Magid, and welcome, Mr. Downing. We have a motion to continue Stanley Z-24-06004, 2313 Stanley Road, till the July meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Do we have another?
Just want to make note on the agenda, there's a case Z-24-06-006. That's for Lovett Street. That application was deemed incomplete and would not be able to be heard tonight anyway, but we had already sent notification out on that, so it remained on the agenda. But that case would not be heard tonight either, and will be put on a future agenda pending a complete application.
Okay, so we just have an indefinite continuation.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I have a motion, please?
We do not. No.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. So that leaves us with 2 public hearings and a street closing on our agenda. And those would be for the items Z2406002, 3319 Sandy Ridge Road, and also PLP 2415 Z2406001, 2196 ZZ Stony Point Drive. I understand that we have opposition to the Stony Point. We cannot put that on the expedited agenda. No one has registered to speak in opposition on Sandy Ridge Road and Cider Road. I just want to confirm that there's no one here in opposition to the item on Sandy Ridge Road and Cider Road. Seeing none, then we will put that item on the expedited agenda. So the first item before us will be Z2406002, a rezoning request from R3 Residential Single Family 3 and CL Commercial Low to LI Light Industrial for the properties identified as 3319 Sandy Ridge Road and 8503 Cider Road, generally described as west of Sandy Ridge Road and south of Cider Road, 0.79 acres.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. This request is for the subject properties that contain 0.79 acres and are located west of Sandy Ridge Road and south of Cider Road. It's a rezoning request from R3 Residential Single Family 3 and CL Commercial Low to LI Light Industrial. It's the zoning map of the subject property and the properties in proximity. North of the request is zoned HI Heavy Industrial. East of the request is zoned CDLI Conditional District Light Industrial. South of the request and LI Light Industrial. South of the request is zoned R3 Residential Single Family 3, and west of the request is zoned LI Light Industrial. This is the aerial photography of the subject property. The subject property contains a single-family dwelling and undeveloped land. North of the request contains a concrete block manufacturing plant. East of the request contains an outdoor storage yard, an industrial office with a warehouse use. South of the request contains single-family dwellings. And west of the request contains undeveloped land. There are no conditions associated with this request. In recommending approval, staff noted that the GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan's future built form map currently designates the subject properties as urban general. The subject properties are located within the area covered by the Western Area Plan, which designates the location as an employment area. The proposed rezoning request supports the comprehensive plan's growing economic competitiveness goal to build a prosperous, resilient economy that creates equitable opportunities to succeed. And the proposed LI zoning district allows a variety of warehouse, industrial, distribution, and office uses that are consistent with the existing uses on nearby properties. The request also supports the employment-oriented character of the area. And again, staff recommends approval of the request, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Would the applicant like to make any additional comments? It's not necessary, but if you'd like to, you may. All right, thank you. That being said, without objection, we'll close the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion
Thank you, Ms. Magid.
regarding Z24-06-002. The Greensboro Planning and Zoning Commission believes that its action to recommend approval of the rezoning request for the property at 3319 Sandy Ridge Road and 8503 Cider Road from R3 Residential Single Family 3 and C-L Commercial Low to LI Light Industrial to be consistent with the adopted Greensboro 2040 Comprehensive Plan and considers the action taken to be reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. The request is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan's future build form map and future land use map. The proposed LI zoning district permits uses that fit the context of the surrounding area and limits negative impacts on the adjacent properties. The request is reasonable due to the size, physical conditions, and other attributes of the area. It will benefit the property owner and the surrounding community, and approval is in the public interest.
I'd like to second that. Mary Skeens.
Thank you, Ms. Maggot for the motion and Ms. Skeens for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? This approval constitutes final action unless an appeal is submitted in writing to the Planning Department and the appeal fee is paid within 10 days. Anyone may file such an appeal. All such appeals will be subject to a public hearing at the Tuesday, July 16, 2024 City Council meeting. All adjoining property owners will be notified of any such appeal. That concludes our expedited agenda. So the next item on our routine agenda is item PLP 2415 and Z 2406001, an annexation and original zoning request from County RS 40, residential single family, to City R7, residential single family 7, for the property identified as 3196 ZZ Stony Point Drive, generally described as north of Stony Point Drive and east of Liberty Road, 2.426 acres. Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. This is the zoning map of the subject property, which shows that it contains approximately 2.426 acres and is located north of Stony Point Drive and east of Liberty Road. This is an annexation and original zoning request from County RS 40 to City R7. North and west of the request are zoned RS 40. East of the request is zoned RS 40 and County RS 3, and south of the request is zoned County RS 3. I would make a note of correction to the staff report. I think the staff report lists the south and east zonings as RS 12 in the county. That was our map layer had two labels on that, and I chose wrongly. So it is RS 3. That's the county designation. This is the aerial map of the subject property, showing that it is currently undeveloped. North, east, south, and west of the request contain single-family dwellings. This is an image of the subject property, and this is seen off the end of Stony Point Drive. This image shows a single-family dwelling located north of the request on Liberty Road, zoned County RS 40. This image shows undeveloped land located northeast of the request off the end of Spring Mill Road, zoned County RS 40. This image shows single-family dwellings located east of the request, zoned County RS 40. And this image shows a single-family dwelling located south of the request on Stony Point Drive. The subject of property, or this property, is zoned RS 3. This image shows another single-family dwelling located south of the request, zoned County RS 3. And this is a single-family dwelling located west of the request on Liberty Road, zoned County RS 40. This image is facing north on Stony Point Drive, and the subject property is off the end of the road. And this image is facing south on Stony Point Drive, and the subject property is directly behind you from this view. There were no conditions proposed with this request, and in recommending approval of the request, staff notes that the GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan designates the site as urban general on the future built form map and residential on the future land use map. The proposed original zoning request supports both the comprehensive plan's Creating Great Places goal to expand Greensboro's citywide network of unique neighborhoods, offering residents of all walks of life a variety of quality housing choices, and the building community connection strategy to work to ensure the quality, quantity, and diversity of housing choices across and between neighborhoods. The proposed R7 zoning district would permit uses that are compatible with those existing on adjacent tracts, and this request allows a greater flexibility for individual lot configuration with a small increase in residential density. And with that, I can answer any questions that you have.
Do we have any questions from commissioners?
I have one. The Stony Point Drive, is that RS3, that particular area as well? Because I wasn't certain.
That's correct. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
We can go
Any
back
other
to that.
questions? All right, would the applicant and anybody in support of the application has a total of 10 minutes. If you'd like to come to the podium and identify yourself with your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Hugh Latham. I'm the developer of the Stony Point Drive property. I want you to excuse my glasses. I had cataract surgery, and afterwards my eyes became very light sensitive. So yes, we're planning to put, based on statute, we did, when we applied for annexation, we did put one condition in. Based on statute, we could put 15 houses, but we only plan to put 9. We plan to allow a buffer between the two adjoining properties of about approximately between 20 and 30 feet and make it a green space. Okay, but since we haven't done finalized the design yet, I have been in conversation with the two nearest properties, and I explained to them what I plan to do. But because of the topography, and until we get final approval, it's hard to say exactly what the houses are going to look like. But it will be no more than 9 houses in there.
All right, 2 things.
Yes, ma'am.
We need your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Hugh P. Latham. Address 2500 Willpar Drive, Greensboro, North Carolina,
Thank you.
27406.
Okay, and are you stating that you want to add a condition?
Well, I thought
limiting
I
it-
put it on the paper. You didn't see it? I thought it was on the application.
We're going to bring up the application now and just check to confirm that. But at this point, it's been advertised as a straight rezoning. So we'd have to go with all
okay.
uses that would be permitted in the R7.
But if he wants to add that condition in open session,
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that people adjacent to it didn't feel crowded. So we did, in conversation with them, I thought I put on the application that we was going to reduce the number of houses and to make sure there was some space between the existing properties and what we plan to build.
we've had conditions added at the public hearing in the past, and
I'm sorry, I thought I put it on the application. My mistake.
Usually those are applications that started as a conditional district or were advertised as a conditional district request, and then they can be added at the time.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
We're going to check and just make sure.
so since it wasn't submitted as a conditional rezoning, he can't add any conditions.
Well,
'cause it
Well,
wasn't-
they're checking.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
And the reason is there's 2 different kinds of zoning, right? We have straight zoning, which is whatever the district is, it's what it is.
Okay.
Then we have conditional district zoning, which allows the applicant to add conditions that would restrict either uses or density
I got you.
or buffers associated with that zoning. Typically, if one's advertised, you can't switch it to the next one. We've had that issue in the past, but I'm kind of looking to staff here to tell us what's going on while I stalled for a few minutes so they could do that.
Yeah, I can confirm the application said R7, but then there was the conditional district application that did have a condition that said uses shall be limited to 10 single-family
Oh,
dwellings.
that's 10 of
So
those.
we should have advertised that as a conditional district with 10 single-family, with a use limiting it to 10.
So
no more than
what
10.
we have,
Haven't been informed.
well, not just that, but we, I mean.
So, Mr. Attorney,
You look consternated.
Bear with me one moment, Chair O'Connor. I apologize. Kind of
that's
a
fine.
quirky little situation there.
Well, I thought I put it in there, but I don't.
while they're trying to figure this out, I think I heard you mention 2 conditions.
Well, it's just one, really. The 9 houses was going to force us to leave a buffer. The question is how big the buffer. And I didn't want to say how big the buffer was until we got the design, but it will
Okay.
be substantially less than what the statute allowed.
So the buffer would not be a condition. It would
It's
be
not.
what-
It's going to
It would be
yeah.
whatever the ordinance
Yes.
requires.
Whatever left over from the 9 houses we plan to build.
20 feet, I think. Yeah, it's residential to residential, so.
Yeah. So, but
And the buffer would be close to the Stony Point
the,
Drive?
the 2 houses that's adjacent to the property, I spoke with them on many occasions to make sure I didn't want to crowd them, and I will leave space so that they wouldn't feel crowded. They are the 2 behind me is is empty. To the left of me is at least 100 feet, 150 feet from the nearest house, and to the right of me, these are the backyard of several houses, which wouldn't directly impact their house in a frontal manner. The only 2 houses, the ones on the side, and I made sure they understood that I would not build close to them, and that's how we restricted to 9 houses. We said 10 or less, but it's going to be 9, actually.
So those would be the ones on Spring Mill Road?
No,
No?
they're on
They would be the Stony
they're on
Point?
Stony Point Drive. The two houses at the end of Stony Point Drive.
The 2 at the very end. Mr. Latham, is this going to
Excuse
be,
me. One person at a time, please. Go ahead, Ms. Gaines.
is this going to be a continuation of Liberty Valley? Or are you going to plat it as a separate subdivision?
We're planning it as a separate subdivision.
Okay.
So if, for the sake of the neighbors and the public who are here, the concern is that we're looking at how the land is going to be used, and the only thing that was announced was a straight rezoning to R7. So it is hard to impose additional, although they may be attractive restrictions at the last moment without the public notice.
Chair O'Connor, if I could suggest, maybe to take the pressure off some of the folks, maybe we take a 5-minute recess.
If the chair is open to that, that may give me a chance to chat with Mr. Carter just a little bit more to make sure I have every detail of this correct.
And then we could come back and get a ruling.
Why don't we take about 7 minutes
Okay.
and as a break?
Take some
and
of the
we'll come back.
pressure off of folks.
Thank you. Thanks for the suggestion.
Recording stopped.
set a reminder or something in our email for especially our back-to-back zoning and council meetings to remind us to do that stuff. I'll do that. We can do that now, but can we? It might be this microphone.
We're ready to proceed.
Recording in progress.
If everybody would please take their seats. Thank you. Mr. Latham, would you mind coming back to the podium? I'll call upon staff to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that an error was made in not catching the condition that you wanted with your application. So this was presented and advertised as a straight R7 zoning. And we apologize to you for that glitch and that error. So at this point, we wanted to offer you the choice to proceed with the discussion of this as a straight R7 rezoning, because that is the way it was advertised, or we would be open to having a motion to continue it for 30 days so that it could come back and be presented as a conditional zoning. But we cannot this evening discuss it as a conditional zoning.
Okay, well, I will proceed as straight R7. I just want when I build to the max, that's all. It's simple.
All right, yes, all right. So staff, did you want to add anything to that? Do we have that?
Chair O'Connor, no, just for context sake, I will say those two options as presented, I can support those options being offered when it was advertised as a conditional district. That is a different district than having conventional and conditional are two different districts essentially, right? So it is a little different than having a conditional district that we then sort of tweak on the fly, if you will. So understand the board's choice to proceed with those two options.
Right. So our discussion this evening for our purposes as commissioners is to consider this as a straight R7. We understand we'll hear the intentions of the developer and the builder for what he plans to do, but those can't be part of our decision.
I got you.
Nonetheless, all of this, regardless of the condition or the outcome, will advance to the City Council meeting next month, and it will be debated again. So this is only rises to the level of a recommendation this evening, not a final decision.
I understand.
So with all of that said, we really appreciate your indulgence on this, and again, we apologize. So if you'd like to make any further comments in support of your application.
Well, that is it. I plan to leave it quite a bit of green space, but that's about it. I saw it as a nice opportunity to add housing. I build houses right now, and we're just going to add more housing to the city.
Do we have any more questions for Mr. Latham? Mr. Latham, you said that you talked, I know, especially to the two neighbors at the end.
Yes, they're have the most impact because they're right up against the property. And I explained to them that I've shown these preliminary plans to them to get them to understand that, hey, I'm not going to build right up on you. Make sure there's plenty of space, and that's how we talked about it. I don't see them here either, so I think they probably accept what I've been talking about for the last 2 years to them.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Latham?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmer?
Yes, Madam Chairman. I have some concerns from the standpoint of if we go straight. Now, I know what the applicant said, but he could do whatever he wanted to do. We don't have anything, the neighbors don't have anything in writing, and I'm uncomfortable with just, I mean, I can proceed on as said, but I think that anything is said here that's not in writing, there's could be some issues later on down the road. So I'm just concerned. So I wish the applicant really would consider continuing it until next month, till we have everything in writing and maybe communicate with the neighborhood. That's what I feel. Thank you.
Ms. Skeens?
I share Mr. Gilmer's concerns because as presented tonight, Mr. Latham, you could build 16 houses, which is almost twice what you're saying you intend to build. So I think we've got a communication issue here, and we certainly owe it to the neighbors to make sure we are all talking the same thing.
Madam, on our first technical review, because of the constraints and of sand filtering and all the other things, 9 was all we could possibly get on there. But, ma'am, I'm trying to expedite this before the bad weather set in. I'm trying to get the streets and road approved and built. So that's the reason I really wanted to proceed so that I could go it's just, this got to go again to the city council. At the city council meeting, could I present documentation showing what we plan to do? I mean, I'm lost. It was not my intention. I'm just trying to expedite.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm under time pressure, trying to get it for the weather center. If I delay it another 30 or 60 days, that means it's going to put it back into October, November before I can start building the roads, and that's, as everyone, that's not that.
So can I ask a question of staff? Okay, I mean, knowing what's happened right here, there's a requirement that you advertise this, right, for what, 10 days? So like if we went from today and we were trying to get to the, no matter what, you're going to go to the July City Council meeting.
That's correct.
Right? And I'm just putting something out here just to try to maybe stand in between where everybody's at on this. But is it possible that tomorrow we could advertise for a special meeting that would put them on target to be at a city council meeting, if approved by this body, with a conditional zoning? That's my question. It would make some hoop jumping.
Yes, yes.
But is it reasonable given what's happened?
It would be reasonable given what's happened, yes. The first, or it has to be advertised twice, and the first has to be at least 10 days ahead of the meeting. So I just need to check and see.
And if 4 or 5 of you don't agree with this tack, tell me now, because then we can go for what we're doing. But I just think that maybe there's a way that we could meet in the middle on this.
I like the idea, because as it's currently presented, we've got to consider that you're asking to build 16 houses.
It has gone through TRC. Has TRC determined that there can only be 9 on the property because of the land?
Well, we submitted the first rendering to the TRC board, and based on the setbacks and other requirements, and the sand fields and other stuff, you're not going to build like 8, less than 10 for sure. But that's just from the TRC, the Technical Review Committee. We've submitted it once. It was reviewed on May the 21st.
So it's already gone through TRC, and there's
The
already
first
a
review.
limit on the number of units.
I think if you look at it, I think it's either May 21st or 22nd is when it was first reviewed at TRC.
Yes. Correct.
I get that. That's why I'm asking about that.
That's where there has to be some.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Something new, because this is our fault.
Yeah.
It's not his. And I get the builder's concerns with all the things that they have to do.
But do we have someone here from TRC since it's gone through TRC?
Or any minutes from TRC that would confirm?
I think it's May 21st when it was first reviewed. I don't have I'll look it up.
Chair O'Connor, the TRC filed the final comments on May 21st.
Pardon me?
There were comments issued on May 21st.
May 21st? Yeah, I thought so.
So was there a deliberation about the total number of units that would be available to be built?
The sketch that was presented at that point showed the 9 lots.
That's all that was approved by TRC.
That's what was, it was a sketch plan review. It wasn't a full site plan review.
Okay.
They say they can't approve until it's annexed, so it's a chicken and egg situation. We presented what we were planning to do, and they said, look, not no major issue, but we can't approve until you annex, so.
Pardon me, Mr. Dunning? Mr. Engel's suggestion. Is it calendar days or business days?
Yeah, the concern that we have is, we can have, it would be a special meeting, we could do it on July 3rd, and that would give us enough time to advertise for the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The only concern would be is that we would have advertising going out for the City Council meeting where Planning and Zoning Commission hasn't even made a decision on it yet. But
Well, can I just say something? I think with any notices, just from my experience, you would always want to give yourself just some additional days just in case something went wrong with your providing the actual notice. So it would be my suggestion to move it. I understand the gentleman's concerns and his issues, but it would be my suggestion to move it to the next meeting. That way we would have adequate time to provide the notices necessary.
Commissioner Glass, if I may just build off of that. Looking at the calendar with Mr. Carter, I'm not seeing a clear-cut workable way to do anything other than that. If there is a thought that the matter needs to be considered with conditions. So that may very well be the most workable approach.
Can I ask you a question?
Let's see what comments we have. Yes,
I just have a
Mr.
question.
Egbert.
So there's two things ahead of us. One's to vote on the annex, one's to vote on the rezoning. Can we vote on the annex, not the rezoning? You can't do that. They both have to go together?
they run concurrently, yes. And we have to...
Because that seems to be even where he runs into an issue. I mean, we've got to figure out something to do as a city.
Yeah.
Can
My
I ask a
question
question? Can I ask a
One at
question?
a time, please. Mr. Angle and then Ms. Magid.
The zoning is a recommendation. So what's to say that you couldn't, the recommendation has to be what's adopted at City Council? That's my question, legally.
You raise a good point, Commissioner Engel. I
didn't
would
go to law
just
school.
no. I would just say though, I think the issue at its core that we keep running into is that we are effectively looking at advertised a different zoning district than what it appears the applicant really wants to put forward. That there are certainly two schools of thought here, but the more conservative approach would be to make sure that we have it correct before proceeding.
I have seen in my tenure on this commission, which is nearing 6 years, that what I was presented and what I voted on is wildly different from what goes to City Council. And if there was one time that I would hope that could happen, it would be in this one. I'll only say that. I'll leave it there.
Ms. Magid.
If this is carried over to our July meeting, okay? In the past, City Council has brought up a zoning situation that needed to be done in a different meeting than the scheduled meeting. We did that with that one. Remember that one? The case here, I can't remember, but the applicant couldn't attend on the date, and so they moved it up to a different date. So what are the two dates that City Council has that it could be presented in the month of July? We can't. No, we would change the conditions and we would do ours in July. And is there a date after that in July that City Council could approve it? I'm not looking at their schedule right now.
Commissioner Magid, just a point of clarification. Mr. Carter and I were discussing. Were you asking about the council dates for August?
No, for July.
Okay.
I'm saying if we were going to do this, do a continuance for 30 days, bring it up here for July for us to vote on it with the new condition added, would we be able to have City Council approve it in July?
Can you turn that off?
Yeah, I'm trying my best.
We have advertising guidelines and requirements, and council has we can't control council's schedule if it's outside of Tuesday, July 16th.
But, yes, ma'am. Yeah, if I heard Commissioner Maggott's question correctly, I think it would, in effect, mean moving the council vote up, which wouldn't be possible anyway. So, yeah, no, I apologize. I don't think that the July dates would work because July is already what was anticipated.
And we have a holiday in there, unfortunately.
Yes,
Are there any other commissioners that have questions or comments? Okay, this still, as far as I see it, remains Mr. Latham's decision, and we understand the pinch this has put you in, and not of your own making. And I know that you wanted to proceed with us talking about it as the straight R7. Mr. Gilmer has pointed out to you that we're very sympathetic and open to hearing your comments about the restrictions that you want to place, but we can't do our votes on that because we don't have that as part of our process this evening.
The technical review documents that we submitted that carries no weight?
That wasn't a final outcome for the total number of units that could be built. It was in response to a plan that was submitted, as I understand it, not their final say.
Well, they say they can't final say to I'm annexed. So I'm caught between the chicken and the egg, right?
Mm-hmm. You are.
Madam Chair.
But
Yes,
our
Mr.
meeting,
Downing?
I was going to, do we have opposition or is that someone supporting
The
behind the gentleman?
Right now, we're discussing about
Okay.
Mr. Latham making a decision about how he wants to proceed.
Well, I mean, once again, the documents we submitted to TRC will be the final document, so I don't know anything else to say. So based on the restriction that TRC has put up, the civil engineer working with the TRC committee, the restrictions, setbacks, and all other things you got to do, the documents is pretty well ironed in stone, built in stone. We can't change it that much. So I'm asking, does that carry any weight right now? And you're saying it doesn't because, okay. Well, I mean, there's nothing I can do. I mean,
we understand we've put you between a rock and a hard place here.
okay, all right.
In any case,
I have a
if
question.
you had a positive outcome, it still goes to City Council on July 16th. If you have a negative outcome, it still goes to City Council on July 16th. Can the applicant add conditions between now and July 16th?
Well, I have a question. Between here and July 16th, I'm not sure where the next TRC review committee would be. So I'm trying to understand what I could do to reinforce that this is what we're going to probably build. 99.9% chance this is what we're going to build because of other restrictions on the land.
We have had conditional zonings before us, and then we've had people add restrictions to make them more restrictive, and that's acceptable because we were on the conditional zoning path.
Okay.
And right now, we're not on that street. But I'm asking if we can add the conditions before it goes to City Council.
Chair O'Connor, I think because the ordinance contemplates the recommendation from planning and zoning, I think we run into effectively the same problem because of the advertising. Ultimately, the two choices that were presented are consistent with what I would recommend as far as either proceed with the straight rezone or continue. I recognize that is a conservative approach. It is rooted in the fact that I don't want an advertising error to undercut any action taken by the board. There is certainly a contrary argument that one could look to accept a condition and move forward. But again, I worry about any risk of invalidating the action by virtue of problems with the advertising. That's my core concern.
So you want us to proceed, Mr. Latham?
Yes, ma'am. I mean,
I understand. Right. Okay.
I don't think I have a choice right now if I'm trying to meet my construction deadlines this fall before the weather turns bad.
Right. All right, then we will continue the public hearing with anyone who, we have 8 minutes and 59 seconds remaining, with anybody who wants to speak in support of your application. You can come and identify yourself with your name and address, please.
My name is Michael Westcott. I'm with Westcott Small & Associates. We're civil engineers. We're at 125 South Elm, so we're right across the street from the Civil Rights Museum. I'm not his engineer. I'm here to speak on the road closing. But I also used to be on the Guilford County Planning Board for like 8 years, so I kind of get what's going on here. But I did want to provide some insight, okay? I've been designing subdivisions since 1998, so I've done this. Can you bring up the GIS that we showed doing that measurement? Y'all know this, so I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, okay? But just because zoning says you can get how many lots per acre? 16 doesn't mean geometry lets you do that.
Right.
Okay. On this particular lot, we measured, and I think the actual measurement, if you continue that road straight through, which is what Greensboro is going to require, is like 216 feet. Okay. The minimum lot width is 45 feet, not counting any kind of buffers or setbacks or anything like that. So physically, you can't get more than 10 lots on this piece of property. You just can't do it just because of minimum lot widths. So whether he's got a condition of 9 or 10 or whatever number of units, physically he can't do any more than that. That's just from a geometry standpoint, you just can't do it.
Thank you.
And that. I'm hoping that kind of takes some of the condition pressure away from y'all, and that's why I was sitting back there going, So, does anybody have any questions of me?
Do we have any questions? Ms. Gaines?
You're making some assumption it's just a straight-in road as opposed to a T.
Mm-hmm. There's not enough room to put a T in there. Yeah. You're getting a T in there? Okay, I'd love to see that. But still, I still don't. How wide is it? $518 feet. You're still not getting. I mean, you're still not getting that. You're still not getting that anywhere near. The geometry is just not going to allow you to do it. So.
Any other questions? Did you want to add any other comment?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Latham, you wanted to come back? Could you please come to the podium? Thank you.
Because of the lot's geometry, we're only building houses on one side of the street. And that's how we're able to do it. We're not building houses on the other side of the street. And that's why you're restricted to less than 10 houses. So one side of the street is completely vacant, and it'll be a buffer against the two neighboring properties. And that's how the engineering has been proposed.
Thank you.
All right.
Does anyone else want to speak in support of the application? If you'd come to the podium, or if there's anyone online, you can raise your hand.
I'll confirm that with a lot width of 518 feet, the minimum lot width for R7 is 50 feet, and that would be 10.36 lots. So that he could not get more than 10.
Yeah. Could you repeat that, Mr. Carter?
Yes. The lot itself, the subject property, is 518 feet wide. Minimum lot width in the R7 zoning district is 50 feet. So that puts him at 10 lots.
That's if one side of the street, right?
That's if one side of the street,
Okay.
yes.
And so,
He doesn't have enough lot depth to get lots on the other side of that street. Yes.
okay. So what I've seen happen in the past, at least with one other case, and I'm not going to ask that to happen tonight, is that the applicant, in a situation like this where they had a straight zoning, made the amount of land that they were rezoning smaller in order to make that happen. So it's something that they can do, and if you want me to tell you the case, I will. But I'm not going to do it here. If they, between now and city council, if the applicant wanted to do that to assuage some fears, they could do that. I'm willing to consider the case as it stands tonight.
Thank you. All right, we have up to 10 minutes of speaking time for anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this rezoning for a straight R7. If so, would you please come to the podium and identify yourself with your name and address?
And Chair O'Connor, Erlene McRae is online to speak as well.
All right, so we'll have this speaker and then the one online. Thank you. If you'd give your name and address, please.
Say that again?
Would you give your name and address?
Sure. I'm Wayne Clapp, 3211 Stony Point Drive. Been there for 35 years. And I was in opposition because I've heard several pieces of information as to what's going to be built until I met the owner of the property here. If I had had direct information from the owner of the property and what he was going to be building exactly before this time, I probably would have rescinded my being against, because I don't want to stop anyone from making money, but I was very much concerned pertaining to the impact of the traffic, because our children, well, I have adults now, but my neighbor's children always play in the street. That's just what kids do. But not every kid. So I was concerned about that, and also was concerned about the, as you go up further Liberty Valley to Mr. Latham's property, there are a couple of areas in the road where it's sinking and has sunk some. And I see they tried to do something with it, and then I'm concerned about the continuation of that as heavy equipment is going to be brought there, and then if that happens to where after they've built and those sinking areas of the street has kind of increased, then I know it's left to the homeowners, but yet it may not have increased as much as it relates to what's going to be built. So that was my opposition, had to do with the traffic impact and basically, and information, because like I said, I was the first one there 35 years ago. So I didn't know Mr. Latham, didn't know he purchased. I didn't get any advertisement in my mailbox as it relates to having a meeting over at the church, which is just right across the street, for the Stony Point residents. And so that was where I am about my opposition aspect of it.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Carter, 3511 appears to be within the notification area.
Yeah.
Would he have received notification of this hearing? 3211. Is it 3211 or 30?
I'm 3211. The
3211.
people he talked to are right at the...
What were you
He should
saying?
have received notice. Did you receive notice of tonight's meeting? Or are you referencing a meeting with the applicant?
A meeting with the applicant. I check my mail every day, and I got notice from one of my neighbors pertaining to today's meeting. And so I'm at 3211 Stony Point Drive, and then my other neighbor sent me the information.
Yes, 3211 is within the buffer and should have received, and we sent it to whatever address was on county records for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Gilmer?
Yeah, I've got a question. So was there any community input at all? That's what was there a meeting held by the applicant?
Well,
I was asking.
You asking
we have
this
the
guy?
records for staff here. I'm sorry.
Mr. Latham, could you come up, please? Could you come to the podium, please? I know that Mr. Gilmer's asking.
Could you put that back up?
There was no meeting.
That is to the proposal of the subdivision, right? I know can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. The houses, the two houses there and the house in the back, I spent my time talking to these people one-on-one to make sure they understood what I was doing. I gave them copies of this and said, this is what it's going to look like. I did not hold a general meeting for the whole neighborhood. They had like 70 names on the list. I think they sent me 60 or 70 names. And I'm like, that's kind of unworkable, since, from my opinion, since I've already, the limited value, the limited impact. And as you see, there's only basically 10 slots, but one of them is a sand filter. So there's 9 houses. And on the other side of the street, there's nothing but green space.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Gilmer?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And the geometry is such, you can't put 15 houses in there. There's no way.
I understand. We just needed
Okay.
to answer that question.
Okay.
We're out of order, kind of. So do we have anything else? We have a speaker online, but did you want to add anything else, Mr. Clapp?
only one thing, where he concentrated his attention of the two houses at the back, his attention should have been brought not for the 70, because there are not 70 houses on Stony Point Drive. It's about 15. So his attention should have been just that street.
Thank you.
And I think we would have had more clarity than what's happening today.
Right. Thank you. Now, I understand we have an online speaker. Mr. Nelson?
Yes, Chair O'Connor. Earlene McRae would like to speak.
Madam Chairperson, before we have that person speak, may I ask a question, or should I wait until they're done with their comment?
Is it a question addressed to who?
It's a question, I guess, addressed to the entire commission and our attorney. Is it possible for the commission, this committee, to make a motion to continue on our own in light of the missing information, as well as the legal concerns about notification? Again, I understand the applicant's position, but it sounds like the legal issues may compile even more so based on the notice. I understand the person online wants to speak in opposition, but
Right.
just...
Our procedure.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Chair O'Connor, I was looking at the land development ordinance provisions kind of related to that a little bit earlier. I do think that the board could move for the continuance of its own accord. It would just need to be very clear in why it's doing so, and if there are concerns about, I don't know if I want to use the word sufficiency, but the content of the application, that could be a valid reason to move in that manner. Again, given the peculiarity of the situation.
Right. We're in an unusual space. I appreciate that, and
Certainly.
I really appreciate your insights, Ms. Glass. I would like to allow the person who's here online to speak because they were prepared to do so, and perhaps then you would want to prepare a motion while that person is speaking. So can we have our online speaker, please?
Ms. McRae, if you could please unmute microphone.
If you turn on your camera and unmute yourself and give us your name and address, please.
Chair O'Connor, Ms. McRae is not responding to my messages on Zoom. She said that it can't unmute.
All right. All right. We'll forego that comment, and the chair would entertain a motion if Ms. Glass has one.
Thank you. Again, this is Erica Glass. I'd like to make a motion to continue this matter. This is Z24-06-001, as well as PLP 24-15. In light of the issues with the two notices that need to be given regarding the advertisement for the type of zoning application or request that the applicant is requiring, there was some issues on behalf of the city, as my understanding. Those two notices were not provided and would need to be provided before, in order to move forward with the type of ordinance requested.
Yes, Commissioner Glass, if I may just offer a bit of language to add to that. I think the advertising would be geared at ensuring that what the commission properly has before it is a conditional zoning request.
Okay. As well as the applicant has indicated by his own admission, as well as an adjoining property owner, that there were some notices that were not sent, at least from what we've heard today. And as required by North Carolina general statutes, those notices to all adjoining property owners to the requested application, those are missing. So I would ask, based on what we've heard today, that there be a motion to continue this particular application.
Commissioner Gilmer, second.
We have a motion. Thank you, Ms. Glass and Mr. Gilmer. Need we close the public hearing before we entertain them?
May I offer just one more friendly amendment to that motion? I apologize, y'all. Just to be clear, any legally required notices would have been sent. It's a matter of additional communication with the community above and beyond that may be factoring in to your comment. I just want to be clear that because the legally required notice would come from the city. It's just the nature of the advertising, again, is the core problem for us procedurally. So,
thank you.
Commissioner Gilmer, second.
Thank you. Do we need to close the public hearing before we vote on the motion?
Chair O'Connor, yes, you should.
Without objection, I'll close the public hearing. I really appreciate and apologize, but I think that in the end this gives us the legroom that we need with the motion that's going to come before us. It gives the applicant a chance to speak with all of the neighbors so that everybody can move forward. It gives an opportunity to advertise properly for a conditional rezoning. And while we are all sympathetic to the idea of the delay that may be created, it might work to your advantage for the sake of the greater communication with the neighbors. And we may come back with a more solid plan that in the end will sail through with a little less effort. So are there any other comments on the motion? If not, we'll take a vote.
I would like to just say one thing, and I appreciate the direction that the commission may be taking this evening. I will not be voting for this continuance purely out of principle, because we have somebody here tonight that brought and has obviously done their work. We saw a layout, and we are going to be delaying them for an entire month. And I think as a group, we've got a lot to work on to make sure that doesn't happen again. And I think that staff needs to go and figure out if we can do this faster. Because I think if there were certain people in town, if this was an attorney, we would be doing this faster. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I'm going to vote with my voice and say no.
Any other comments?
And I'm going to do the same.
Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Skeens?
I'm going to vote for the continuance because I think the applicant needs the opportunity to present the case as he intends the development to unfold, specifically limiting the number of units over and above the zoning, and also exploring buffers, and also to be able to present a sketch plan similar to what went to TRC so that we have a very good understanding of what he intends to happen, as do with the neighbors. So I think it would benefit everybody to continue so that we've got something hard and fast, not just relying on what TRC said, but that's not for sure because we haven't annexed it yet. We've got too many variables presented to us tonight. So I'll be supporting it just so that we can give the applicant an opportunity to proceed as he intends.
And I want to also add,
Mr. Downing?
I'm voting in favor of the continuance as well. There's a need for additional clarity to the neighborhood. And I also understand, to the gentleman, timetables are at stake, but this continuance will really allow for more conversations. And there is just a need for more documentation. Documentation is necessary. We don't want to get into a legal battle where one thing is happening, then another is happening. The continuance would allow for more conversations to be had and for a clearer presentation of what is to happen. So I will be supporting the continuance. I know it puts a lot of people's timetables off, but overall it's going to benefit the masses. And the continuance is a yes for me.
Any other comment?
Yes,
Madam Chair. Mr. Gilmer?
Yes, Madam Chair, and I agree with Commissioner Downing and Commissioner Schemes. And I said it about 20, 25 minutes ago. I think a continuance will be in order, and it will give him a chance to especially communicate with the neighbors, as we always look for communication with the neighbors. What Mr. Clapp had said when he came up with about not being to communicate with, it kind of bothered me a little bit. And I hope in the future we'll kind of think twice about having to continue a case on our own, but I think in this particular case, it's well worth it to keep us out of legal trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmer. Are we ready to vote?
I just wanted to ask that my comment be stricken. I'm going to vote in for the continuance.
Thank you. All those in favor of the continuance, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? One in opposition. So this matter will be continued with great apology, but I think in the end we have a better hope coming out. We have one more item on our agenda this evening, and that is the street closing.
Chair O'Connor, I apologize. Did we specify the date that was being continued to? I wasn't sure if I heard that.
It would be the July 15th.
To July 15th.
The July meeting. It was assumed, but we should have stated it. I agree. Okay. The next item on our agenda is item PLP 2418, a request to close Corsair Lane from Airport Center Drive northwestward approximately 604.68 feet to its terminus. Mr. Carter?
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. This is the diagram that was submitted by the applicant. Stating the street that is proposed to be closed is Corsair Lane. The signatories on the application make up 100% of the landowners along the street. The city must make two determinations in order to close the street. One is that the street closing to vehicular traffic is not contrary to the public interest, and two, that no property owner in the vicinity is deprived of reasonable means of ingress and egress. The Technical Review Committee recommended approval of the street closure with the following conditions. In order for the street closure to be final, a plat must be recorded recombining the area within the right-of-way to adjacent properties. And two, the city shall retain a 20-foot utility easement over any existing utility lines that remain public and are located within the right-of-way requested to be closed. I can answer any questions that you have.
Are there any questions? Does the applicant have further information? If you'd give your name and address, please.
My name is Joe Carraher. I'm the school director at Cornerstone Charter Academy at 7800 Airport Center Drive. And basically what we're trying to do is reconfigure our campus in order to increase our parking, to improve our stacking, and to make sure that our pickup and drop-off are safer. I think it's also important to note we're not increasing our school size. We're just trying to make it safer for our current students.
Thank you. Are there any questions? We have another speaker. Thank you for hanging with us.
I'm back.
If you'd identify yourself again,
Sure.
please.
I'm Michael Westcott with Westcott Small & Associates. We're at 125 South Elm Street here in Greensboro. I'm the civil engineer on the project. Again, the city has already done their findings of fact, so there's not a whole lot for me to really say or do. I'm just here for questions.
Are there any questions? No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was there any opposition? I don't believe there was. If not, we'll close this public hearing, and we would entertain a motion.
This is Commissioner Engel. I would move we close the street.
I'll second it. It's
Thank you,
Commissioner Egbert.
Mr. Engel and Mr. Egbert. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries. This constitutes a favorable recommendation and is subject to a public hearing at the Tuesday, July 19th, 2024 City Council meeting. That closes our public hearings. Do we have any other items from the Planning Department?
No, ma'am.
We have none. And as far as the commission is concerned, if anyone wants to add anything, we'll ask for that. But as a group, we would like to extend our most sincere condolences to Mr. Peterson and his family on the recent loss of his son. And our thoughts and prayers are with him. Does anyone have anything else to add?
Ballpark, how many cases do we have next month?
Commissioner Engel, with the 2 cases continued this month, it will be 9. It's 9 rezoning cases, sir.
Plus the 3 we did tonight, or including the 3?
No, those are including the continued cases.
Right. They're included. Okay, we appreciate everyone's efforts and patience this evening, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Recording stopped.